Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, empowering the good. And that's why we're honored to be talking about Harwood Center. We're joined by their executive director, Rachel Lauletta. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing very well. So a lot of good when you talk about Harwood Center and the work you're doing with youth and families. But let's start with a little bit of context. 1957, give us a little bit of history for Harwood Center.
Yeah, so in 1957, there were a couple of dads that got together. It was Sam Cooper, Herbie Lichterman, Dick Harwood, amongst some others. They had some children with cerebral palsy. And back then, a lot of them were children with cerebral palsy were put into institutions. And they did not want that for their children. So they opened Harwood Center as a daycare for cerebral palsy, actually, back in the day. And then over the time, it evolved into like a preschool. And then in 2013, we started taking applied behavior analysis, which is a clinical therapy that's data-driven, that's shown to be the most effective early intervention for children with autism. So we started doing that. Now it's one of our main therapy providers. And then we also have a speech language pathologist on staff. And so he offers speech therapy. And then we also have some charter contracts. So we actually have a special education classroom at Coleman Elementary. And it's pre-K, and it's a 1-to-4 ratio, meaning that there's one employee to every 4 kiddos. So we have a lot of attention going to these kiddos to really prep them and get them ready for kindergarten and beyond. So our age group is 18 months to 6. So we really focus on those early ages, really trying to get them as ready as possible. So when they get to school, we kind of got all those like early learning skills and those things that they need so they can really like thrive and succeed as they move on and into their future. That's kind of us in a nutshell.
We'll talk about the ABA and some of those specific nuances. Talk about your team, because with this, there's specialization within the expertise. So talk about your team.
So in the applied behavior analysis department, there are certified technicians. So they have to take a board certification exam. That means they have to go through an extensive training. They have to pass these competency checks with a licensed professional. Then they have to go to a testing center and actually pass an exam. And then they have to renew it every year. So it's an incredibly extensive process. Right now, our onboarding training is between 4 and 6 weeks. It's a pretty extensive process. And then the licensed professionals, which I am one of them, we have to have at least a 2-year master's degree. And then we have to have a certain amount of supervision credits. They have to be within certain guidelines. There's all these things. And then we have to get a national board certification. And then on top of that, you have to be licensed within every state that you work for. And each state has a different licensing requirement. So it's very extensive for that field. Speech also has a licensing process. They have tons of credentialing, tons of supervision. So he has extensive training and testing as well. At our charter, we have a licensed special education teacher. So not only is she trained in elementary ed, she also is licensed and specialized in working with kiddos with special needs. And so our staff have a lot of training, and it's a lot of ongoing training. So,
and carry that into then what that means for the children, because you're giving them every opportunity to succeed, and that carries over into supporting the families. So talk about what that means for the children and obviously for the families as a whole.
Yeah. So when in our ABA program, the technicians that are certified, they work one-on-one with the kids. And so every child, we teach to the child's strengths. We don't teach to any kind of standardized thing. We learn how the kid learns, and then we learn what the kid likes. And then we use that to promote the best and really bring out their personality, their independence, all their strengths, and all the great qualities that that child possesses. So that's how we do everything. So each child has a team of these certified technicians that rotate. So the child has the opportunity to work with a variety of different people and a variety of different staff. So that way, when they go into kindergarten or first grade, they're used to working with different people, and we kind of prep them a little bit more. So with that team, we also require the parents to get parent training from our licensed supervisors. So they are required to come in and supervise. We just built this beautiful building, which is built for this. So all the rooms have one-way mirrors. So the parents can come in with the licensed supervisor. They can watch the session. The kid doesn't even have to know they're there, because sometimes when you see mommy and daddy, you think it's time to go, and that's not always the case. So they do that. And then sometimes we'll have the parents go in with the tech and be like, hey, this is how we teach. Why don't you do it with us here? And then we can also assist in home and kind of really help that family in home, here, anywhere they need it. We do go into schools with permission from the school, and the parents have to arrange that so that we can also kind of help that child. So we really try to wrap around that family as much as we possibly can, get them resources. If we don't have it, let's find a place that does, so that you can get that service too.
What does success look like? Because obviously it's individualized with each youth and their family. Just like you're talking about, is you take the best and you kind of work through that and the passions for success, but then also too, the socialization, the acclimation into kindergarten, first grade. So what does success look like on your end?
So it depends on who you ask. Success for me is to see my staff and the clients and the parents thriving and motivated and really excited about what they do, and morale is high, retention is high, all of those things. So that's my purview. The techs, it's really seeing these kids master these goals. So, and then for the parents, what we do when they bring them in is we ask them, what are like the 3 things that if we could help you do, it would make your life so much easier? Or what is something that you really want? Like, do you really want him to say mommy, or like, what's your goal? And then what are 3 things that that child does really, really well that we could build on? So we always kind of do that. So for every kid, they have a different path, and we follow that kid through that. So like, we have a kid, he's been with us close to 4 years. Friday, he actually said 3 words, and he's never spoken before. And we actually caught it on video. I have no idea how we did that. And my entire staff, I walked out of a meeting and everyone's in tears, and I'm like, what happened? And they're like, look at the video, and everyone's just crying. So that's success for us. So him saying, 1, 2, 3, go, it's huge. Whereas other people, that may not seem like a huge step, that's gigantic for that child. So everything's individualized. We want to help the family. We want to help the kid. So it looks different for everybody.
Dive into the ABA, early intervention, some of the specific pieces of what you do that drives that success.
So ABA is all research and data driven, which is one of the reasons I love about it. It's got that really objective piece to it. So we do this assessment when they come in. We actually have a couple assessments. It kind of depends on what the kid is and what's best for the kid and the goals for that child. They come in, they do an assessment. We pick goals. Typically, a lot of our kids are here full time. So it's about 30 goals or so, depending. If we're working on toileting, that does eat a lot of the day. So they may have less goals. So they do that. The staff actually carry around computers with them at all times. So as they work on a program, say it's identifying colors, and we ask them like, which one's red? They'll enter the data on the computer. The parents can log in whenever they want and see that data, so they can see it. It automatically graphs it. And then those licensed supervisors go in, and they, all of our staff are required to get supervision. It's mandated 5%. Harwood shoots for 20%. So we really try to make sure that we give plenty of supervision so that we can really support everybody. So once they enter that data, the supervisor will do that. They also meet with the parent, talk about things, change the program if need be, have the parents work on some programs that hold, kind of depending on how everything's going. And then since we have the team, the kids rotate staff 2 to 3 hours on average. And so the staff do a note for every 2 to 3 hour block. So the parent can log in every day, know everything we're working on, look at the data, look at the trends, and then meet with the clinical staff if they have any questions. So it's very data driven. We really could look for like trends. Are things going well? He's not learning that. It's been about 2 weeks. Should we like tweak this? Should we add this component? How do we best maximize his strengths to help him achieve this like goal that we have in front of him? So that's what I like about it. It's extremely data driven, and it's very transparent. The parents know what we're doing. So that helps too.
So we've talked about obviously the specialization with your team, the small class sizes in terms of the student to instructor ratio, talked about success, talked about obviously the data-driven approach. What else do you think is kind of part of the secret sauce for Harwood Center in terms of creating this transformation and driving the success?
I think it starts with a variety of things. We have amazing staff. And if you have amazing staff and you take care of those staff, then they're going to take care of the kids. So I really think it's a rippling effect. I have a crew. I mean, the fact that the entire building was in tears because a child spoke says how wonderful these people are and how caring these people are. And so they deserve the best. So helping them in their own individual goals and supporting them and knowing that like we're here for them, they're going to be here for the kids. And the parents see that. And the parents know they can always reach out if they have questions, and we try to be there for them. So if say they need occupational therapy, we don't have that. Let's help you find it. So we're always trying to find where are the gaps, like where parents are struggling here. Okay, well, Harwood currently doesn't offer that, but can we put a resource list together, or can we partner with this program and offer it? So we're always trying to help one another, and the staff are very much like that. They're always trying to help one another. So as long as we have the amazing crew always helping one another, we're going to succeed in helping these kids. So that's kind of it. I got amazing people working here. It's really
well, but that's part of it, right? Is supporting the team to pour into the kids. And while we're on the subject of helping, let's talk about how the community can help Harwood Center. So how can the community help your efforts?
So we are a nonprofit. So we do accept any donations. Right now, we're about to start a reoccurring donation where we just designed a shirt to help support all kids. So any reoccurring donation, doesn't matter if it's $1 or $200, anything helps us to help the staff and help the kids. We just recently updated our website, so checking us out there. We're relaunching all of our monthly newsletters, so following us on Constant Contact, all that information is there. And just reaching out if they have any questions. Even if they're not a child of ours, we still try to connect them where they can get help. Every child deserves help. So that's what we try to do.
Touch on that piece of it, the financial contributions, why they're so important, because when you look at what you provide as the services versus what you receive in terms of the tuition and the reimbursement, those don't equal each other. So covering that gap is so important. Talk about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't cover itself. So I try to take care of the staff as much as possible. And as a nonprofit, we tend to stay in the deficit financially. So trying to balance that is hard. And so any help from the community to help me get out of the deficit can then go right into helping the staff. So there's a very direct funneling stream. So anything to help kind of bridge that gap between the cost of services, the cost of overhead, all of that to what I get reimbursed so that I can help the employees is phenomenally appreciated.
Absolutely. Touch on your vision for the future for Harwood Center. For you being executive director, what are some of your goals in terms of Harwood Center and the trajectory moving forward?
So Harwood's mission is always to offer hugs, hope, and help. So the mission is always going to be the same. We want to provide hugs, hope, and help to any parent we can, any staff we can as well. And of course, the child that we're working with. So my goal is to get this building to capacity, see if we can help in other locations, see how we can continue to help the community. And that may lead us down another charter classroom or more partnership or a closer partnership with different departments at U of M. But the mission is always going to stay the same of offering that hope, helps, and hugs to everyone that's involved with Harwood Center. Even if your child doesn't go here, how can we help you?
Wrap up with where we can go to carry this conversation forward. So your website, social media, phone number, where do we go?
Yep. So the website's easy. It's harwoodcenter.org. And then our Facebook, we have Facebook and Instagram. So Facebook is Harwood Center Inc. And there, our sweet little boy who spoke is on there. He just got put up the other day. So we're on there. And then we have the constant contact. If you go on harwoodcenter.org, you can sign up for our newsletter and things like that.
Well, Rachel, greatly appreciate all you and your amazing team do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you.